Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a twin soul channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the super full moon in Scorpio for twin souls occurring on April 26th, 2021, 11:31 p.m., Miami, Florida. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, if you're not, please check a time zone converter for your local time. I want to just start by saying thank you so much for joining me for this video. And for all of the new subscribers, thank you for joining and for liking and sharing the content. It's been so wonderful to see so many of you become new subscribers of the channel. And I hope you'll be able to find something in this video that resonates for you. Each new and full moon, I provide content updates that include what's going on for twin souls, divine feminine, as I read her, Juno, and her counterpart, divine masculine, Jupiter. In a separate video from the overall Lightworker energy update. So if you'd like to know what the overall energy is for this full moon, in other words, the soup or the context in which these veggies and noodles are happening in, definitely have a listen to the Lightworker energy update so that you have a better understanding of what you're seeing and why it matters. This video will be broken into two parts. We'll have the divine feminine following the overall energy for the new moon, the full moon. And then we'll have a conversation about divine masculine energies. As we all know, we carry both energies, and at different times in your connection, you may find that you anchor more in one or the other energy. And as you get closer and closer to union with self, you'll find that both pieces of the message will resonate for you in different ways in the cascading impacts in your life. So feel free to listen for what resonates for you and leave the rest. The overall energy for this particular full moon, why do I keep saying new moon, has to do with a heavy Saturnian influence on the full moon because Saturn is squaring in a T-square the sun moon pattern, as well as Uranus, Venus, and Mercury here inside of Taurus. The full moon's up here in Scorpio at the 7th degree. Scorpio and Taurus both talk a lot about values, our value to ourself, our value to the world, the way we have our own self-esteem and self-worth, and the way the world values us. And they also talk about money and the distinction between sensuality and sexuality, because they're not the same things. So, with this Saturn squaring these two energies, there's a real call to higher standards in all of those areas, a real call to figuring out what works for us and where it is we really want to go based on our values and what it is we're letting go of or what we need to let go of in order to have what it is we say we truly want in our lives. Saturn's influence brings a real raising of the bar, if you will. And I go in depth about this in the Lightworker video, including the mythology of Saturn and why Saturn represents what he does. But the overall impact and influence here is talking about the necessity of paying attention to what it is you really want and giving yourself permission to get after it from a higher standard, from the place of self-love, from self-integrity, from paying attention to what's in the highest good of everyone involved, as opposed to a direct place of, centered in our selfness and our old stories, old paradigms. So have a listen to the general video because it goes more in depth about that. But that's the overall mood or energy of this full moon, is a bit of taking a leap into the next chapter, taking a leap into a higher standard when it comes to love and or money, intimacy, sensuality, sexuality, from a much higher place than the one we've been in previously. Looking here at divine feminine energy, you'll notice that the divine feminine has recently moved retrograde. She began her retrograde motion on April 12th, right after the previous new moon in Aries. And this marks, I think it's about a 4 month period of movement for divine feminine where she will back up in the sky. It'll appear like she's moving backwards as we see her from Earth, before moving forward again and then out of the sign of Sagittarius and into the sign of Capricorn. She doesn't actually get into Capricorn until I think it's November, December of this year. But when the divine feminine energy begins to move retrograde, a few things can occur. We have divine feminine energy starting to review some of the issues and patterns and themes of the last 4 months when she was in direct motion, but in shadow. And we also have an energy of sometimes divine feminine either withdrawing from the connection just a little bit, depending upon where you're at in your journey. You may find that divine feminine energy withdraws from the connection. You may find that the connection doesn't feel the same to you at this juncture. You may find that this could potentially mark the completion of a particular cycle or stage in your connection, only for a new stage to be rebirthed at the period of time when divine feminine goes direct. Because divine feminine energy is so closely associated with the sign of Libra and balance, and the scales of being balanced, one of the things that can happen as she's moving through Sagittarius in particular, and her ruling planet, there being Venus in the sign of value, is this can be a period of time where there's a real desire to get to the truth of the matter inside of your connection. What's the absolute truth? What is going on here? And a real desire to stand in truth or to find the truth, capital T, at this time, so that you can really understand how to navigate and position what's next. The challenge the divine feminine faces as she's searching for that truth, because Sagittarius represents truth, faith, freedom, is the square from the planet Neptune. Neptune squaring divine feminine energy. Neptune represents the veil. It represents the space in between this life and the afterlife. It represents illusion, deception, but also our connection to that other side, because the veil is what sits in between us and the other side, us and the spiritual realms. And so with Neptune in squares, squares tend to bring out the shadow energy of a planet. With Neptune in square to divine feminine, a few different things can be going on here. I mentioned this in the Lightworker energy update, but it bears repeating here. And I've mentioned this in previous lunations as well, that Neptune square divine feminine energy could create a distance between you and counterpart that is long distance. She is sitting here in the sign of long distance travel. Neptune is sitting here in the sign that governs the seas, the ocean. And so there may be a body of water separating you and counterpart. There may be large tracts of land. Like you can't just see each other in an hour if you want. You would need to take a flight or something of that nature to be in connection in the material realm. But Neptune can also, because of its representation around deception and illusion, there could be a lack of real clarity about the connection, what it is, where it's going at this point, coming through the feminine side of the energy. There can also be a compromise to faith at this time coming through the feminine energy. And like I said, this doesn't just mean, feminine meaning live inside, or identify as a woman in a woman's body. This just means in general, kind of like we all have masculine and feminine energy. The feminine side of your own individual energy, no matter what kind of body or gender you identify as, This just means that the feminine side of the energy, the receptive side, the creative side, the flexible side, the going with the flow side of the energy can really be struggling with understanding or positioning the direction of things inside of this connection. So, if you want to have a deeper look at this for you with your connection, you want to see the house placements of Neptune, you want to look at the Juno placement and house placement for Sagittarius and Pisces in your chart. You can do that if you're a star schooler. Pay attention to this because the house placement of the house placement here for Juno and the house placement here for Neptune will let you know where the issue can arise, what the issue could potentially be. It'll also let you know how to navigate it so that you can start to work with the energy and the light. If you're a star schooler or not a star schooler, but you'd like to have me look at this and interpret it for you, the reading calendar is certainly open. You can book a reading with me at kmoonastro.com. The link for that is below this video. And it'll help, having this conversation will help you better understand how to position yourself in relationship to the year's energy, because this Neptune square Juno energy is going to be in play for the entirety of the year. And so while Juno sits in Sagittarius, she wants to reach for truth, clarity, a destination, an outcome. Neptune is consistently pulling her back and asking her to, okay, sit in the unknown, sit in the question mark, sit in the unclarity for now, wait. And especially now that she is moving retrograde, this is a big theme for the next several months for divine feminine energy. So if you want to look at how to work with this so that you're not getting in your own way, or without meaning to, throwing away your connection only to realize, oh, crikey, I just stepped all over this in a way that wasn't useful. Let's have a conversation. Okay. That's not the only thing going on for divine feminine energy. She is retrograde. She is talking in square to Neptune. But in addition to that, she's still pretty close to sextile Jupiter. And we've got about 30 more days of this. I would say maybe even 20 more days of this, which is what opened up the union window between twins back in December. So many of you have reported either coming back into communication with your divine counterpart after a long period of silence. Many of you have reported recognizing that you feel your counterpart's energy much more strongly than you've felt in many, many years or in a long time. That's the position of the sextile. 60-degree angle lends itself to two planets speaking harmoniously with one another and bringing out the best in one another. Because this is a sextile, however, this energy asks that we apply a bit of our own work and sweat ethic in order to get something out of it. So you may have been the one who was prompted to reach out. You may have been the one who, needs to do some internal work in order to make being in connection at this time work for you, simply because of where they're at. You may need to kind of do some internal work so that you can accept and surrender to what's going on in the connection. The theme of the sextile between Jupiter and Juno is to get something good, you got to put some good work ethic in, some good work effort in. And so this is about this window that opened up in December on the solstice is coming to a close now. We've got 30 more days of it, and then we start to move into a pattern of disharmony between the two counterparts as they begin to back away from harmonious energy flow between one another. And that will lend itself to more challenging energy arising between counterparts in the collective fields. And again, that just depends on where you're at in your connection. That doesn't mean you guys are going to fight, fall out, or not speak again. Just depends on where you two are at. Likewise, for those who have not been in any communication, this may prove to become a very clarifying time as Juno moves retrograde. In the channeled messages for this year, one of the things that really showed up was that during this period of time, many will start to come to clarity that they've not been dealing with a divine counterpart. They've been dealing with an ascension partner or false twin, only to understand that they are getting prepared for an upcoming union window in a fellow fire sign, which will be Aries in 2023. And that whatever that connection was that wasn't going to move forward with you into the future, there'd be an unbundling of the energy at this time so that you could get prepared for union energy to become more resonant and relevant in your space as we move into 2022. So, this 4 month window may be a window of time where you get that clarity either from within and the way you're feeling. You just kind of recognize, okay, yeah, that wasn't a twin thing. I thought it was. And, or it may be a period of time where, you just start to get prepared for some other type of union with an energy that's familiar, but a face that's different as a twin soul. Likewise, one of the things that's also been happening as we move from the end of December, the solstice, into now when the union window opened, there have been twins who've been talking about, and I've been getting a lot of downloads about this as well, that they've been experiencing symptoms of spiritual union. And the spiritual union process has started to really ramp up for them, and not just union with self, but union with counterpart in ways that's allowing them to really feel and sense the energy of counterpart, even in counterpart's absence, and really start the process of coming home to self, moving out of singularly divine masculine or singularly divine feminine energy, and really starting to experience the merge of both energies in their field and witness both energies in physical unfoldment in the way they're behaving, choosing, thinking, acting on planet Earth. Seeing that merge of both as opposed to polarized one or the other. So, all of these were things that you may have experienced over the past 4 months. Now we go into this period of time of them moving out of synchronous movement and sextile, divine feminine leading first with her retrograde energy. This is a period of time where a few things will happen. There could be an energy of pulling back from the connection, not feeling the connection in the same way. It just starts to feel a little bit different. A lack of clarity. She sits in the sign of clarity, but she's moving backwards. So there could be a complete lack of clarity for a period of time about what the connection is, where it's going. And there could just be a flip flop or an inverse in the energies and the way they're playing out for divine feminine. I'll go into that inside a Juno retrograde video that's separate from this one. So if you're already feeling like some of these things are resonating with the experience that you're having, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe because I do provide these kind of collective energy updates so that you can track what's going on in your connection with what's going on in the stars and know that you are not crazy. All right. There's some big mama energy coming in as well, which I'm going to talk about right after this. I'm going to show a brief commercial, and if you're willing to watch it, that would be amazing. Thank you so very much. Commercials do help the channel to grow and allow me to continue to provide this content on a regular basis. Thank you. Great. Thank you for watching. If you already watched it, let's talk about Big Mama energy. So, the other thing that's going on here, we've got Juno having a harmonious conversation with one of the mothers of the zodiac series, well, two of the mothers, and creation goddess Haumea. The sextile to Haumea and the trine to Ceres is letting us know that some of you at this time may actually be experiencing becoming a mother. There were several prior to now in the lunations that I spoke about in March and in April, new and full moons. There were several motherhood activations and clearing of the matrilineal line. Now we actually have a period of time where all of that work occurred because you are now coming into a place of conception where you might give birth to a child, adopt a child may come into your world that wasn't a part of your world before. Your divine counterpart may be with somebody else and they may be having a baby, and that baby is now a part of your energy field as part of your connection with your counterpart. So, for those that are experiencing this, congratulations. I mean, what a great time. I mean, you survived COVID, you survived 2020, and here we are in the unfoldment of a new era with new energy coming to planet Earth. There's a strong starseed energy coming through for those of you that are conceiving at this time, who have conceived in the past, I would say 90, no, 60 days. There's a connection with the Pleiades for the divine feminine over the past 90 days. Now, I don't normally get into starseed stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that at the 26th degree of Sag, what we're talking about is our connection to the Pleiades. And as the divine feminine has gotten so close to that placement before retrograding backwards and simultaneously having this conversation with Ceres and Haumea, both around motherhood, so many of the children coming in at this time are going to be starseed children, specifically from the Pleiades. So I did a channeled message on that. I received a channeled message on that last year that there were going to be starseed children coming to Earth during this period of time. I suspect there's going to be other starseed children that will come through during Leo season as well, is what I'm hearing. So have a listen to that channeled message, because that message will help you understand some of what's going on and may provide some additional comfort to you if this is an experience that you're having that has something to do with you and a counterpart and a person who, like a third person. There may be some comfort in that message for you, because I know that can be really difficult for people to digest and to integrate if there's a third person involved on either side of the connection. So once again, congrats to those who are conceiving. Yeah, and so this is our energy for divine feminine at this lunation. It's a very beautiful energy, but it also asks divine feminine to just be able to hang out and wait and see. And that's one of the hardest things for divine feminine to do, is to surrender inside of her feminine energy, the masculine part of her that also wants to control it, to see where it's going, to dictate the outcome, especially in the very masculine sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is one of the masculine energies of the zodiac. This is it's we're really being asked at this time to step into the most surrendering part of ourselves in the divine feminine track of the connections. So to the best of your ability, I know that's not easy, to the best of your ability, I invite you to do so. Okay. And where you can't, I mean, surrender to the fact that you can't. Just surrender to where you're at and your own beingness and your are-ness, your isness, so that you can just give yourself that permission to find what's right with you. Okay. All right. So that's divine feminine energy. Let's dive into what's going on for divine masculine at this time. Again, I see that there's sextile to Juno, but interestingly enough, he's also harmoniously placed to to motherhood energy here in Aries, that's Ceres, and Homea, motherhood energy up here by trine and by sextile, same way as she was, sextile and trine. So again, there's this mirrored energy where inside of the connection, there has been some soul level agreement that it's time. It's time for a little soul baby to come through. And whether that soul baby is between the two twins or, on a maybe subconscious soul level agreement between the twins and, the female counterpart soulmate or the male counterpart soulmate, these children are really showing up at this time to assist Earth in a way that Earth really needs. So I'm hoping that we can all find it within ourselves to welcome these beautiful souls to our planet, because they have a big job, a really big job in front of them. We also have Jupiter trine Mars, divine masculine in harmony with the if divine human masculine energy. Mars would represent the human masculine energy. And human masculine energy is unfortunately in the sign of his fall, the sign of his detriment, Cancer. Each of the planets has a sign in which they don't give their best, they give their shadow. And this is the placement now of divine masculine inside Cancer. If you've been following along since the previous lunation, again, in the light worker energy update, for the Aries new moon, you would have found that Aries was sitting in Gemini, or Mars was sitting in Gemini, and that would have provided better energy than this. But the trine is still there. It's still a bit active, although it's weakening at this point. And this is really providing divine masculine energy with a bit of chutzpah, like a bit of like go get 'em tiger kind of energy. This energy of truly dredging up, like, from girded loins, the capacity to like go make something happen in the world. And what's interesting is, again, the placement of this trine. Divine masculine has been sitting in the sign of Aquarius and will continue to all year. We've got just a couple of degrees inside Pisces come June, but that doesn't last very long. And Aquarius is the sign that's all about the greater good. It's all about what is in service to the people. What do the people most need? How can I be in service to everyone involved? And with divine masculine hanging out in that sign, speaking in harmony to Mars here, there's this motivation to do the right thing for everyone involved. Now, I have mentioned this in previous lunations videos, but I'll say it again here. Some of you are finding that your divine masculine counterpart has taken a step back from your connection because, for whatever reason, given what he's here to accomplish at this time, what's on the soul agenda, soul contract schedule at this time, or how he's situated otherwise, there was a strong energy coming into 2021 around doing things in integrity. And this is echoed at this time with the Jupiter Mars sextile. So this really came when Jupiter and Saturn, sorry, not sextile, trine, when Saturn and Jupiter were conjunct from December forward. Saturn's all about integrity, all about wholeness, all about those high standards. And so when Saturn and Jupiter were having the conversation, December, January, February, this would have been a time where it was like one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake inside divine connections, and things unfolding very slowly, but unfolding nonetheless. Likewise, that also would have been a time where if divine masculine energy was pulled in two different directions, hanging out with a spouse, soulmate, and a twin, for example, or straddling a business and a day job and not really getting very far in either one. This would have been a period of time where divine masculine probably would have taken a step back from one or both things and said, I can really only focus on one thing. It's not fair. I'm not whole. You're not whole. the other people aren't whole by me splitting myself in different directions. So I need to double down in one place, wrap it up, clean it up, do what I came to do in it, and then move forward to the next one. This particular energy is echoed as Mars has been, the human masculine side of things has just been speaking in harmony with Jupiter, and then bringing forward a lot of that. A lot of that energy of like, okay, do it, make it happen, do it now. Furthermore, because Jupiter is the outer planet in the configuration, Jupiter has been endowing some of the human masculine energies with a bit more divine masculine energy. So, for those of you who, for whatever reason, counterparts unavailable, you've been dealing with a soulmate, soulmate would represent as Mars in the connection. Um, in a chart, Mars, you may start to see divine masculine qualities in the last, I would say, 60 days, 30 days in particular, coming through your soulmate. So it's an up level all around. It's an up leveling energy for everyone. And this super full moon in Scorpio is really about the up level on the whole. And again, I go into that in depth inside of the Lightworker update for this lunation. If you'd like me to have a look at this for you in your chart, the calendar is open for the month of May. You're welcome to book a time to read with me. The link below is in the description box, and you can also just find me at kmoonastro.com. We're going to dive into a couple of more interesting energies about this right after this brief commercial. And if you're willing to watch it, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, we're back. So, the last thing that I really wanted to speak to for divine counterparts and in divine connections is that there is going to be a retrograde of the divine masculine energy very shortly here. I would say in the next 60 days, we're going to see Jupiter also go retrograde. And so, one of the things I want to prepare us for as Jupiter, begins to slow down, one of the things I want to prepare us for is, to start paying attention at this time. What are the things and the themes that are coming up in the connection now as the divine feminine is going retrograde? Because she is retrograding inside of his sign. He's associated Jupiter with Sagittarius. And so this is really, like I said earlier, a call for divine feminine to give up trying to be divine masculine inside of her connection, to relinquish that last little bit of control and slip into deep surrender and receptivity. But as divine masculine prepares to go retrograde, one of the things we're really going to see for divine masculine energies is the need to take the focus off of the greater good, start to focus on self, because it'll be a recognition that I can only give to others from a full cup myself. And if my cup has holes in it, then I'm not going to be able to do anything for anyone. And so I suspect that there will be an energy of drawing back inside divine connections once both of these go retrograde. And this is going to be a great time for soul level work, deep healing, the opportunity to do distance healing, past life work as Juno gets closer to the South Node in June. And it'll also be, or July, I should say. And it'll also be a time as Jupiter returns to getting closer to Saturn. It's going to be a time again where, divine masculine energy is just going to be held to this higher standard in a way that forces the question, am I doing this in a way that really works for me, for everyone involved, not just other people? One of the things we saw with divine masculine moving through Capricorn all of last year was an energy of kind of self-sacrifice, an energy of a willingness to kind of fall on one sword, if you will, while life crumbled around divine masculine's feet. from a work perspective, from a home perspective, in many cases, a relationship perspective as well. And I would say that the Capricorn, Jupiter through Capricorn transit of 2020 was probably extremely chastening and humbling, not just for the counterpart who may identify in polarity as divine masculine, but also for divine masculine energy for the counterpart who identifies as divine feminine. So, one of the things to pay attention to now that we're in this sign of the greater good and Jupiter is about to go retrograde, this is going to be a huge and awesome period of time to really take your attention that may have been really wrapped up in what's going on in the connection. Take the attention and really place it on light work. How can I be of service? I've learned what from this connection so far about love? Great. How can I take all those things that I've learned about love and deploy them in my work and my family, with my kids, with my parents, in my home? How can I deploy those things in my community? This is the time where we're going to be asked to start to expand the lessons of love from the connection beyond the borders of the connection itself, while the connection itself takes a breather and does a bit of resetting. So I know it's not an easy time. I just want to acknowledge that it's not very fun when these two go retrograde. It can feel a little bit like, wait, what happened in my connection? Like the lights went off or the energy dissipated. But what's really going on here is an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to more deeply step into the light work and the healing to deepen the roots so that when these two go direct, the branches can extend as well. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you once again. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Join us. This is a great tribe, a really great community. And you'll be able to get the new and full moon lunation videos every 2 weeks here on the channel. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. So many of you have been sharing with other people on other platforms, and it's a kindness. I thank you for doing that. Lastly, if you'd like to book that reading, you know what to do, kmoonastro.com. Take great care, everyone, and bye for now.